Hello, newly minted Commissioner Jack Felling. I believe that's how you say your last name. Is it Felling? Filling? There's one E and two L's, so we're gonna go with Felling, and hopefully everything works okay. I just want to say that I am really excited that you're joining the LCS. I've decided to make this video as a means of welcoming you and also just giving a ton of suggestions because I have a giant ego and I've been doing this for a long time. And I can't stop myself from doing something like this. And so rather than do the video I thought I was going to do, which is just like, hey, here's the things I think the commissioner should work on, I'm going to make a video just for you and then post it to my YouTube channel so other people could see it and comment on it and tell me where I'm wrong and all that stuff, even though I'm not wrong. I know that you followed my Twitch channel the other day and you commented in the chat, which was nice of you to do, but we haven't been formally introduced. So I will formally introduce myself. I have been covering League of Legends for over a decade now. It was last year. It was the first time I started covering it back in 2011, right after the season 1 finale. I've played, I think my League of Legends account is like within the first 500 League of Legends accounts ever. I have been around League of Legends since the closed early beta because a buddy of mine named Vagar got me into the game. And yeah, I've just been around for all of this. I've worked at major media companies covering it and ran a team at one of them. And then now I've been independent for quite some time, for about as long as franchising has been around, which is kind of crazy to think about. And so I just have experienced a lot of this. And I know a ton of people. I know folks on the ownership side, on the player side, on the talent side, on the sponsor side, on all these different sides. And so I think I have a pretty unique position being kind of detached in orbit around all of this different stuff and covering it to have, at least a unique opinion and hopefully something that will be moderately entertaining for you to watch. Again, I know that this is very egocentric of me to come in and tell you the things that I think you should be doing for your job, but it's just what I do. I got to create content. I'm a content creator, and that's how this works. By the way, because I'm a content creator, I have to shout out Alienware, and there's a link in the description for folks that want to take a look at that, who are not you. Though maybe you would also like an Alienware computer, though. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about some of the stuff. So you're coming into LCS at a very unique time in its history. I don't know if we are waning or if we're just in a lull for a little bit, but I think we're about 5 years in from franchising because it started in 2018. And I would say that the franchising vision and beautiful world that has been painted for a lot of people did not really come to pass. That doesn't mean that things are a failure. I actually think it's great that the league is still going. I mean, probably the longest standing league right now. I don't know, at least of any major relevance. And I believe the #1 league in North America. I know you worked on some others previously, Call of Duty, Overwatch League, and Gears of War stuff. So no offense to those products, but I think we're still #1, even as our star has faded a little bit in recent years. But I think this is a cool opportunity for you because I think people are kind of open to change. Now, I say that, and it's a bit of an irony because we've actually been changing a ton in the past couple of years. We've changed formats a ton. We had some new teams come in not too long ago. We have changed rule sets and the way tournaments work and the academy and amateur system. There's now something called Champions Queue, which you're probably very familiar with. But even then, we've also kind of just gone back to the drawing. We've gone back to kind of where everything was a couple of years ago. We made a bunch of changes, like to the schedule and the format and all that stuff. And then at the end of it, we kind of even decided, like, let's just bring Jat back. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. Everything's just rewinding right now to the way it was before. So I would say that a lot of the changes that we made are pretty decent. I'm excited about some of the things that are happening in Academy and Amateur, but I don't think a lot of it is enough. And I think some of the takeaways here is that the fundamentals are probably pretty good for the league. We've tried to tweak some of the fundamentals, and those have not worked. Like doing 3 days a week, I don't think was that good of an idea. And that's probably why we're back to 2. And so that stuff is probably, you probably don't need to go back and next year decide to do 3 or 4 days or spread out the broadcast on much of other days. I know I saw some people on Reddit suggesting that to you, but it's a bad idea. Instead, I think what is actually probably more important right now is to talk about just some of the baseline concepts for the way the system works, right? It's not going to be about changing the format. It's not going to be necessarily about, I don't know, bringing in 2 new teams or something like that. I think it's going to be like what isn't working right now. And there's probably a lot of different stuff that's not working. So let's start it off. I know I ranted about this on Hotline League the other day. You probably saw it, and I apologize for anybody watching this video who already did. But I think one of the biggest things is we just have a pretty big issue right now with player turnover. It's really hard to build any brands. None of the new players have anywhere near the brand that some of the old players had back in the day. Some of that is because viewership has dropped off. Some of it is because there's more competition. That's probably the same thing, but there's more competition on Twitch for other personalities for people to follow. But I think a lot of it is also that we just sort of trade players in and out of the league. We've done some work around this at Travis Gafford Industries, which is my fake company, where you can go watch this. We did some Run It episodes about player retention and player turnover on the league. I'm sure you have numbers internally on your own as well. But I think that's been a huge issue where you just can't really build any player brands. You know, we brought Perks, Alfar, and Sword Art over last year. I don't know if you caught any of that, but now they're gone. And so that's been like a big drum that I've been beating because for me, obviously, a huge part of my job is building player fan base stuff, you know, and brand and doing all these interviews and helping to tell the stories. And it's just incredibly difficult whenever the stories all get cut short because a player leaves the region or, you know, an entire team has 5 new people come in. It's just incredibly difficult. So those are the types of things that I think are probably a good idea to look at is like what are the things that you can do as a commissioner to influence some of the systemic issues that we are seeing in the league. I think that's a huge one of them. Kind of attached to that, I would say that you now have these 10 teams, right, that have been in the league for a while, some of them longer than others, some of them way longer than others, but I think they don't have a clear consensus on what this league is supposed to be. So not only do they disagree amongst themselves, which is natural, you know, you kind of want ideas to compete, and hopefully that's a great way of improving the league is when people argue and they debate and then they come up with cool ideas that way. But also I don't think that there has been, to my understanding, like a revised vision of what the league is. Again, we're 5 years into franchising, half a decade. And I think some of these teams probably are like, wait, I thought we were supposed to be playing in sold out arenas. Like I had thought that geolocation would be a thing and I'd have my own arenas, like that very successful league that you unfortunately had to work on. I apologize for that. And that has not come to pass. In fact, we've kind of retracted a little bit in terms of viewership and that type of stuff. On the other hand, their costs have inflated dramatically, right? Because player salaries have gone up. Again, you and I both know you can't do salary caps because of laws that are in the United States. Other people don't. That's why they're telling you on Twitter and Reddit that you should do that. But it also just means that these guys are in a tough position because things have not, I think, gone the way that they thought it was going to go in a lot of ways. We even saw a lot of that, I think, pop up in the import rule discussion last year, which you can read up on if you would like to. Actually, ask Greeley about that because he and I, we had a very fun back and forth, and I did with some of the team owners last year, right around this time, actually. I think he and I are in a better place now than we were at that time. Certainly better than we were in the summer. Hopefully, you and I can continue to have a great relationship because I think that we're off to a good start. You followed me on Twitch. That's a good sign. Anyway, back to the team owners. They are in, I think, just an unclear situation, and they need somebody to come in and basically tell them, here's what this league actually is going to be. So, great example of that is revenue. What is the max amount of revenue they should expect to be able to get from the league over the next year or two? I look at that sponsor lineup, and unless you guys double viewership, I think you guys are pretty packed and sold out. I mean, obviously, Greeley and co. decided to let teams attach really ridiculous brands to the names of their own teams, which I hate, but clearly they're doing something to try to allow folks to get money, which is fine. I guess people need to figure out how to break even at some point in time. But I just like going in and basically saying, hey, we think that over the next 3 years, you're probably going to be able to get about 3 to 3.5 million from us every year as part of the rev share thing, and hopefully based off of viewership growth, we'll be able to get you like 5 million in 5 years from now annually. And that's probably where we're going to be. Saying those types of things will hopefully allow them to figure out if this makes sense for them. Similar to that is probably viewership. I don't know. What should viewership be? I think you should be able to figure this out internally, because you have a lot of smart folks at Riot who can do market research and compare what the LEC viewership is for their player base versus LCS. You can look at historic numbers, look at historic LCS viewership compared to the player base back then. There are ways to do this, and I'm sure some folks at Riot have already done it. I don't know if that information's been shared externally, because I've never really heard that it has been. When I say externally, I mean like with third-party partners like the team owners and I don't know, whoever else. So coming in and basically having a meeting with all of them and saying, like, look, this is what the league we think is going to be like in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. This is our 5-year plan. And if you do not like this, if it is not compatible to your business, because you have decided that the only way it makes sense to be in this league is if you're generating $10 million a year or $20 million a year from revenue share, then we'll help you find a person who will buy into the league, and it'll make sense. The other thing that this will be good for is hopefully allowing them to adjust their spending, right? Because when you have teams that are spending probably somewhere between $5 and $7 or $8 million total on their LCS team in terms of salaries and whatever annually, and they know that they're not going to be ever able to get that amount of money from you guys on the rev share side, and maybe they don't have as much money coming in on the sponsor side, whatever. You can adjust, right? Like then they understand. I don't think that stuff has been there. I also just think from a high level brand perspective, saying like here's what we think the LCS product is going to be. This is what we're aiming for, and aligning that towards that, I think would be really good. The secret is you actually have so much leverage, and I'll probably get some passive aggressive comments from team owners about this, but like none of these guys, they all need you. They need you way more than you need them, because your business, and almost like, first off, you could trade out a ton of these teams for other teams. Bring Mr. Beast in. I don't know, and people would not really notice or care. On the other end, like the folks that have been around for a long time, all these guys, I guess is the best way to put it, they all have so much of the valuation of their business locked up in the LCS slot. And so you can just sort of tell them what's going to happen, and it's going to be really hard for them to like push back on you. I think they've tried it previously, and then they've just basically lost a lot of these battles. So you actually have incredible leverage, and I would suggest you use it wisely, right? There's that Spider-Man quote. Because you can drive people to a common vision, and as long as that vision is good and the methodology is good behind it, and you think you can get there, then we're great. If you have some crazy idea, like a lot of the ideas behind some of the other esports leagues in the past, which I know were probably not yours, then that's a scary thing for all of us. Another piece of advice is to avoid the glitz and glamour solutions, or like the easy solutions. And the way that I kind of describe this stuff is like, I saw some folks on Reddit and Twitter who were suggesting like the league needs to travel every third week. Somebody tweeted this at you. Every third week the league should be on a roadshow. Roadshows actually had decreased viewership back. People don't remember this, but they actually did these roadshows in the beginning of the league. The viewership was never better. I think they were a great way probably to try to get the word out that like esports is a thing. You go to these cities, you could like bring sponsor folks in or partner folks in, whatever. Everybody knows esports is a thing now. You don't need to bring this on the show. Road, it's going to cost $1 bajillion. That's the type of thing I mean whenever I'm talking about glitz and glamour. Also, moving to a fancier studio. I think I've heard rumors of that in the past of like, oh, maybe the LCS should go to a fancier studio. I remember when Overwatch League had that old late show studio or whatever in Burbank. Like the things that make this system work, this product work, are not going to be, well, we can have twice as many people in the audience, or now we've got 50% more space in the studio. No, you could make this product awesome, probably on half the production budget. I'm not suggesting you do, but like the the things that people gravitate towards on Twitch are like random people sitting in their bedroom. Like, look at Asmongold, right? Like, how much money is his production budget? Just think about that. I'm not saying you need to go back down to that, but I'm just saying a lot of these glitz and glamour solutions are going to cost you a ton of money. They're going to sound really exciting, and they're not actually going to move the needle. The only thing you really need the production stuff for is for sponsors, and you're already selling the sponsors just fine. Like, I don't think you're going to suddenly unlock, 50% more revenue by spending 50% more production budget. The only thing I would say is I'd love to see increased production budget on storytelling, like Drive and all those things that Riot used to do to actually build stories around their players before they decided not to ever do anything like that ever, and just leave them in the dark on webcams. What's up with the lighting in the studio? I don't, ever since they brought the players back into the studio, it's very dark. It didn't used to be that way. The other types of things that I would say on the kind of easy solutions thing is the import rule stuff is a great example of that, where you got team owners that are like, well, you know what we just need to fucking win. And if we win, our viewership will quadruple. And it doesn't matter if we win with 5 players nobody's ever heard of because we hired them between spring and summer and they all came over and just won the league and then they got to finals and lost or something. That stuff is not going to work. I don't even know why I need to explain why that's going to work. I don't know why team owners think that. That's my next suggestion is to listen to your talent. So this is huge. I think one of the huge reasons why LEC has succeeded, and I don't want to discount the value of other folks behind the scenes on these broadcasts because, look, successes and failures should also be contributed or attributed to the folks that work on the broadcast behind the scenes. But talent is so fucking huge. And I think that Riot as a whole has done a kind of piss poor job in the past of really embracing their talent, letting their talent do crazy ideas. Like, these folks are all so, I mean, not to make the pun here, but they're also talented, right? They've got really great ideas, and left to their own devices and given some resources, they can really unlock stuff. But I think what often happens is that just is not how things play out in LCS. And it does in LEC. The amount of times I've heard a story from LEC that for some content piece that was amazing, where like Daniel Dracos and Vedius were sitting in a room with a single producer. Actually, sometimes it's not even a producer in the room. They're just in the car driving somewhere, and this is like great. And then they bring it to a producer, and then the producer's like, yeah, we can totally make this happen. And I just don't, I know that the production and broadcast team is going to tell you that like I'm bullshitting you and I don't know what I'm talking about because I sit far away. All I'm saying is listen to your talent and try to retain them. I think it's actually really disappointing that like Captain Flowers, for instance, is mega independent now and does his own stream stuff and shows up to cast, and he's incredibly talented at that. But like you're a lot of the best talent just kind of move off, and sometimes you don't even have them around. It's been fantastic for me because Mark Zimmerman, who does Hotline League with me, you may be familiar with him. He now is not doing as much of the broadcast, and he's incredibly talented. And I think Riot just kind of took him for granted, which is fantastic because now I have him doing Blame Game for me, which is a fantastic show. I'd recommend you check it out. You can subscribe to the channel actually right now, and you can make sure that you already see those. But he's doing stuff for me. Why is he not doing stuff for you instead? Why do I get the opportunity to do a bunch of extra stuff with him whenever he's like one of the best pieces of talent that your broadcast has? And I don't know. It doesn't, like, there's just a lot of very weird things like that. My suggestion would be go sit down, have lunch with each of these folks and on the talent side, and like listen to them and give them like 3 times the amount of credit in your head to what they're saying that you get from almost anybody else on the esports team. I apologize to those people. I'm sure they hate me trying to discredit their opinions compared to talent, but talent is really good. And if they are in and they believe, then they're going to be so much better on the broadcast, even though they already kill it. So yeah, go work on the talent stuff. I think it's really important because they can make or break your broadcast. And if some of these people decide to go do something else because they get too big, then that's kind of a bummer for you guys and for all of us. So please retain them. Kind of on that same road. Like, I'm making a lot of enemies in this video. Why not? Why not continue it? I would say there's some folks that have been working on the LCS for a long time, and I think they're probably talented. I think they have been probably working there too long. So maybe they're kind of clocking in, clocking out, or they're kind of, we all get kind of stuck in this, right? When you're at some place for too long, you kind of just get in the rhythm. I probably have this issue with my interviews every now and then where I'm like, oh, here's the process. I'm just going to do it. And then I kind of have to force myself to mix it up. Some of those folks can go do Valorant stuff or Wild Rift stuff or Legends of Runeterra stuff or any number of different things at Riot. And I don't know how empowered you are to make these decisions. I'm going to assume that you're fairly empowered because Greeley is probably so fucking tired of this job and is just going to be like, you go do what you want. At least I hope so. But I would recommend that you just find people who are really eager and excited to work on the product and are not burned out after many years, because I think there's probably some folks who can probably go contribute to new ideas on another part of the company. Finally, this is my selfish part. This is very selfish of me, and this is where we're going to get into just my own thing. Media stuff at Riot has always been a shit show, and I say that not to complain about a lot of the people that have worked on the media side, because so many of those people have been overworked and underempowered. And I think that's actually one of the biggest issues, is that it's not like there's just been terrible folks that have been working on the media side, but Riot has never, especially on the esports, valued media the way that they should. Even now, I think there's a lot of times where they just sort of focus on, hey, how can we get a New York Times article into a PowerPoint that we can show to an executive, and a lot less thought put into stuff. Like a great example of this is every time the event travels, or sorry, LCS travels, or even on the global side. I know you're not working on the global side, but like the last thing they ever think of is, where do we put media in the stadium or the venue or whatever. It's always sort of like they build everything out. They're like, here's what everything else is going to go. It's just always last, you know? And I don't even mean like, okay, maybe it's the lowest priority, and that's, some people will say that they should be, because you should probably focus on the players or whatever. But it's like they kind of shoehorn it in a lazy manner, or kind of it's just jarring. You know, the internet never works, etc. I know I'm getting bogged down on specifics, but it's an example. One of the things I'm kind of worried about is, like, there, to my understanding right now, is still nobody that has replaced the previous comms person for North America last year. I get that it's not been that long, but why is there only one person who's going to be doing comms for like a ton of stuff in North American esports? This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. It's always, I feel bad for the person who's going to get that job. And maybe they're going to watch this video and then it's going to be awkward at some point in time. But I really think that you should have at least more than one comms person just for LCS. I would love it if you empowered them to do really cool stuff. I mean, third-party media and comm stuff and all that can be such a huge asset and win. And it has always just sort of been a last-minute thought for so many people. And I know there are some people on the LCS team. I'm not trying to say that everybody has this viewpoint on it, but like, I don't think it's ever been utilized the way it could be. And it kind of sucks for me having to cover the league, because I just want there to be more stuff. Anyway, this video got kind of long, but hopefully some of it was helpful. You probably already know all this stuff, and it has not been actually helpful for you, but maybe it affirmed or reaffirmed some ideas that you had. I'm happy to hang out, by the way. We could grab lunch or coffee, and then I won't talk about this in front of my entire YouTube channel. And I'll even speak openly about some very specific people that I think are great or not so great. So I'll give you the dirt. I'll give you a bunch of gossip. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I know you probably watched it on 2x speed because it's so long. But thanks for watching, and best of luck. We're all rooting for you. Don't let us down. The LCS is back. Oh my god. I've been watching Lock-In, and it has been fantastic to see the teams playing, even if there's some, I don't know, faces that we didn't expect to see on some of these teams. But what you may not expect, and you should, because they make awesome stuff, is all the amazing deals from Alienware right now. They actually just announced a whole bunch of new hardware at CES, including a new 34-inch OLED monitor, which I'm really excited about, a new X14 notebook, all sorts of stuff. In fact, I actually just got, I'm setting this up right now, the new R13 Aurora. I'm super pumped for it. Anyway, be sure to check out all the cool stuff from Alienware at alienware.com/Travis. There's a link in the description below. And thanks for watching.